Mic is live, ladies and gentlemen. We got John Coltrane in the back, giving us some soulful sound and setting the mood. My favorite things playing in the background, one of my favorite tunes. We're going to give it a couple more minutes, let people join us, and then we're going to get into our topic matter today, our main subject. But until then, enjoy the sounds of John Coltrane. I think we got like 2 minutes to go. You guys know how I am about being prompt and on time. You know, one of my staunch beliefs is that we are to support black folk, buy black when we can, support black businesses. But on the flip side, as entrepreneurs and business owners and people that are trying to build up our clientele, we have to be on time. You know, we gotta deliver good product. We gotta be on time. When we say we're gonna do something, we gotta be there. And if I tell you I'm gonna be here Saturday at 2, I like to live up to that and be here for you Saturday at 2. All right. I was watching a video the other day, and a sister was arguing with the guy, soul food restaurant, and the guy was so belligerent. All she was saying, look, like, I'm a customer. Don't you think the customer's right? And he was like, I don't give a F. I'm rich and all this stuff, man. You know, that type of attitude will get you nowhere in business. You know, and we got to treat each other right and fairly. And we want support from our community. We got to treat our community the way we would treat our family. Because basically that's what we are, you know. We're all connected on some level or another. And we got to treat each other fairly and be right about the business that we put out there to the public. All right, it's about 2:03 right now. We're going to get into our main topic of discussion. I'm not going to try to keep you too long. I'm going to stay within the hour time frame. And hopefully you guys will get some benefit out of what we talk about today. There's lots going on in the news. Who is that? Mercedes. How you doing, Mercedes? Wow. Mercedes from my Bell's teaching days. One of my best and brightest students. Good to see you, Mercedes. Today's topic that we're going to be discussing is America the Two-Face. We always hear about America the Beautiful, America the Home of the Brave. But today we're going to be talking about, that's right, Babs. Today we're going to be talking about America the Two-Face, two sides of America. And what prompted this subtopic matter, because I was thinking, you guys know that I usually put out a little advertisement through the week as to what I'll be talking about on Saturday. And I usually do that when I post the show on my YouTube channel, but I didn't do that this week because I was trying to come up with a good theme that would fit what's going on in today's society, and it just hit me this morning that this would be a good topic to discuss, the two sides of America. And it was basically prompted from the interview that I saw on Rachel Maddow's show with Hillary Clinton as she rehashed how she lost the election and the things that are happening in the news today. And it was a phenomenal interview. I think Hillary did very well. I'm not a great Hillary fan. Well, let me put it this way. I'm not a great fan of American politics, period. I think they all full of crap. I think Democrats and Republicans are two sides of the same coin. But speaking from a political standpoint and an analytical standpoint, I think Hillary did well. I think that interview is just a precursor as to what we're going to see in her next run. Don't count her out. I think she's going to come back to run again, and she might win this time, especially if Triple X keep doing what he's doing, and everything keeps going down the tubes the way it is. So don't count her out. But the one thing that stood out to me in the interview and prompted my direction in terms of this discussion today, and I see this a lot. Obama would do this a lot, and a lot of politicians would do it a great deal. Whenever something happens, and somebody say something out of place or do something out of place, the first thing that Democrats do, they play on this card. They go to this old talking point. That's not America. That's not what America does. Those aren't American ideals. Okay, you look at what happened in Charlottesville a couple of weeks ago. You hear them talking about Triple X when he goes off on Mexicans and the border and building his wall. It's like a talking point. Just like I was saying last week, we say things so much until it becomes reality for us. We talk about God-given rights as if that's really a thing, but it's been said so many times that we start to believe that it is a thing, when in actuality, God never gave a man rights. And I've said this before, and I say it again. I challenge anybody to pull out a Bible, Quran, the Torah, or any holy scripture, and show me where God gave a man rights. God never gave a man rights. He's always given men responsibility. But like I was saying, we say these things so much until it becomes reality for us. And so too with this talking point of, oh, that's not American, that's not who we are. And, the truth of the matter is that it is American. Racism and bigotry and hatred is just as much American as grandma's apple pie. And we need to stop telling ourselves that lie, that it's not American, those aren't American ideals. Because if they weren't American ideals, Triple X wouldn't be in the White House right now. All right? It might not be what we aspire to, but the reality is it's a part of the American fabric. And that's what I want to talk about today, the two faces of America. How we present to the world this whole open arm, bring me your tithe, your poor, your refuge, your huddled masses yearning to be free. Of course, if you're not Mexican or Muslim or anybody other than European, okay, there's always that two faces that we show to the world. How you doing, Rashid? Grateful for you joining me today, man. And we need to get off that kick, because it's like any other addiction. One of the first things that they say a junkie needs to do is admit that it has a problem. You can't help a person on drugs if they don't get up, stand up in the meeting and say, my name is so-and-so, and I'm addicted to whatever. That's the first step to curing that addiction. Okay? And same thing here. We can't cure this problem if we keep telling ourselves we don't have it. That's not American. That's not the American way. America was founded on bigotry. America was founded on racism. It was founded on hate. And that's the bottom line. Again, it might not be what we aspire to today, but it is a fact of life. Okay, it began with the Native Americans when Columbus landed on our shores. He murdered countless thousands of Native Americans, destroyed so many records. Magellan and all these other explorers came here, killing off the Aztec Aztecs and the Incas, stealing the gold and destroying records, cures for cancer and other diseases, that were destroyed because these men didn't understand what they had encountered. All right, you look at the slave trade, what this country's economic base was built upon. All right, the transatlantic slave trade, Jim Crow, all of these. When you search our history and you look at our culture in particular, how we were considered only 3/5 of a man, okay, all for political gain. All right, so anytime I hear that phrase, or somebody say, "Oh, that's not America, that's not American ideals," I have to say you're lying, and I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Hillary, Barack, anybody that spouts that nonsense need to stop it and need to say, "Hey, look, this is the American way." All right, hate, bigotry, racism is ingrained in our fabric, and now that we have identified this problem, now that we have identified this addiction, we need to take steps to correct it and to redirect that course of action. All right. Because it is the American way, and we need to stop selling that nonsense to the people. We need to stop selling that nonsense to our children, and that's why our children walking out here with these ideas thinking, it's not the American way, that truth and justice and I have rights. The next thing you know, they're walking into a bullet because they're believing that nonsense instead of us telling them, hey, look, this is the American way. The people that are in control of our government, the people that are making decisions, the men and women walking around with these badges and guns and in our military and in different aspects of our communities, they are institutionally entrenched and they are practicing institutional racism, which is a part of the American fabric. And we need to fight and work and preach and do what we can to change that. But to sit here and deny that exists, to deny that is the American way, is not going to help matters at all. And that prompted the discussion for today. Okay, the two faces of America. Like I said, our country has always had two faces. All right, there's always been the two faces. There's always been the top and the bottom. All right, and I'm not only speaking racially, economically, politically as well. And that's what kills me about a lot of these pro-white folk that voted for this nut, that don't even realize that they voted against their own self-interest. They're so caught up in their own hate for self and for the family that they don't realize what they've unleashed on the world. It's not just about the color of an individual's skin, but it's what's in your bank account or what political party you belong to. So it's not always about race, even though I come from that standpoint a lot because I love my people, I love my culture, and I try to do what I can to educate them and uplift them. But the truth of the matter is there are deeper issues that are at play here. And when you talk about world control and world domination, a lot of people don't realize that there are levels to this thing that are going on. I just want to look at my notes because I want to stay on topic here. Martin Luther King famously said that we don't want to change America. We don't want to make ourselves better than America. We just want America to live up to her ideals, all right, and include her people in the decisions and the things that are going on. And again, I'm not a great fan of Martin's movement, but he was right in that aspect. But what people don't understand, America, just like Plato's Republic, I don't know how many of you guys ever studied that writing, formally, but if you've ever taken any formal literary classes and they analyzed Plato's Republic, one of the things that came out in that analysis, most scholars would argue, is that Plato's Republic is written and argued from the standpoint of of that being just for a certain segment of the population. Those rules and allegories and principles that were being argued in Plato's Republic was basically about the rich individuals who were counted as citizens. It wasn't meant for the slaves or the caretakers or the workers, but it was basically those laws or those principles that Plato was arguing or postulating was about rich people. And so too, I make the argument that American government wasn't set up for everyone. All right. Again, these are ideals that we would like to live up to now, and we try to focus in on now. But the truth of the matter is that the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and all of the other fancy legislation that was put into practice back then wasn't written for everybody. American government is government by rich people for rich people to control rich people. Everybody else is just an afterthought, right? And this is why it's very difficult for change, and people are fighting for certain things now because that wasn't written in the original philosophy. The original philosophy was government by rich people in order to control rich people, and might I say rich white people, all right? Because that's basically who it was for. Everybody else was just an afterthought. Everybody else was basically, just cannon fodder. When you look at what's going on today in New York, same thing is happening. It's so expensive to live in New York now that New York is basically for rich people. You can't live in Manhattan if you're not pulling down six figures. It's impossible to raise a family in Manhattan nowadays if you're not a six-figure household. So New York is basically becoming a playground for the rich, and all the people that serve them are going to be living in the outer boroughs, and even they're going to have a hard time sustaining and dealing, because again, it wasn't meant for the masses. It's not meant for the masses. It's basically meant for rich white folk to help and control rich white folk. And that's the bottom line. I see Eric Wilcox has joined the conversation. Great to see you, Eric. And again, if any of you guys have any ideas or want to express opinions, again, I'm not set up just yet with the phone line and have people call in and everything. But please, if you have any thoughts about what I'm saying, please feel free to write it in the comment section, and we'll definitely share it with the group. All right, so looking at this thing on different levels, we have so much, like I said, going on in the media and the news, and I see videos on Facebook, and people are hitting me up with different things that they'd like for me to address. And I just want to mention some main things that are happening to illustrate what I'm saying in terms of the two faces of this country. From the social standpoint, everybody's aware of what's going on with our sister Jamila Hill from ESPN, the anchor from ESPN. And again, these are just examples that I'm throwing out in terms of how we look at different things going on in this country, how it's dealt with us on a cultural level as opposed to other groups. Now, Jamila Hill is a commentator on ESPN, and she was on her Twitter. For those of you who don't know, on her Twitter account, she tweeted out that Triple X was a racist. He was a white supremacist and a racist. Everybody got up in arms. Even the White House chimed in, talking about she should be fired for what she said, and it's still going on now. The controversy is still going on now. They're trying to get her out of ESPN, and everybody's upset. And I got to say, shout out to her colleagues that said that if they get rid of her, they're not doing the show anymore. Nobody's, her black, her Nubian colleagues are saying that if they get rid of her, basically the show is dead. Nobody's gonna fill in. They're not gonna fill in for her, none of that, you know. So they basically standing with the sister, you know. So this is basically a First Amendment right, freedom of speech. But then it also speaks to the culture and racism in the media, because just that same week, all right, Miss America was asked about the events in Charlotte, and she just basically came out, "Hey James, how you doing? Great to see you, bro." She just came out and said, "Those people down in Charlotte are racist, you know, and anybody that supports them and wouldn't call them out straight up are racist as well." All right, so she basically called Triple X a racist. All right, but there's no outcry about her, and of course, Miss America is a young white girl. But yet the sister that exercised her freedom of speech on her private Twitter account is being called out, and people are saying she needs to be fired. So that just goes to show you that there are two faces to the American way. All right, and I gotta ask, where are all the First Amendment people? Okay, where are all these people that are up in arms about the government taking away their First Amendment and their Second Amendment rights? Where are all those people now? Why aren't they coming to this sister's defense? All right. Well, all the stuff, and again, I wasn't a great fan of Barack Obama in terms of what he did from a cultural perspective. All right. As a president for mainstream, I think he was the best there ever was. But from a cultural perspective, he didn't do much for our people. He signed legislation for gays. He signed legislation for cops. He signed legislation for the banks and oil companies. But he didn't sign any specific legislation protecting our people or giving our people a leg up. All right. But on the flip side, and I don't want to digress and get away from the main point, when you look at all the stuff that was said about this brother, things that was said about his wife and his children, hey, Alan, how you doing, bro? You know, all the nasty memes that was circulated from the alt-right and different people. It's one thing when you disagree with a person's politics, you know, but when you viciously go after a person's family and call for their death and call them nigger and all this other stuff, you know, you had a congressman, a United States congressman, sitting in the middle of Congress during the Barack Obama's first inaugural address. And he basically just jumps out and calls the brother a liar, talking about you lie. And Barack had to catch himself, because I could have sworn for a minute, you know, he was like, he had that Chicago look like, what? Like he was about to step off the podium. But Barack caught himself and said, no, that's not true. You know, but the brother in him was like saying, yo, I'm going to see you outside. But again, you know, you can talk all this stuff about this sister, which she didn't lie about what she said. You know, I mean, I'm not going to be around the bush. You know, I don't have no $1 million contract to lose. In my opinion, from what I've seen of his actions and the things that he's said and the things that he's done, Triple X is a racist. He's a racist white supremacist. You know, and proof is in the pudding. You look at what people do and what they say, you know, and this sister basically spoke the truth. And people are calling for her to be fired for speaking the truth. ESPN said it wasn't appropriate. When has it not been appropriate to speak the truth? I'll tell you when. When America wants to show her two faces. This is a very two-faced country, ladies and gentlemen. And that's just one example as to how they're treating this sister and trying to get her fired. And again, I gotta say kudos to that brother Mike Smith, her co-host, and all the other journalists on ESPN that's saying that they are not going to step in and step over that sister that they're standing with her. And I say kudos to you guys, and that's what's up. That's what we have to do. And you're right, Bab. She spoke the truth. She basically spoke the truth, and anybody that can't deal with it, they need to do some studying up on the Constitution. And again, I gotta put it out there. If she should be fired, Miss America should be decrowned. Everybody talking about staying consistent and being consistent with the rules. Miss America, the little white girl Miss America, said the same thing. And nobody's outraged by that. Okay? Moving on, criminal justice. Oh my goodness. It's getting to the point where it's like every time you turn on your TV, you're hearing about either a young brother getting shot and killed or some police officer getting acquitted for killing him. And it's really getting to a point where people aren't going to want to stand by and just listen and take this nonsense anymore. It's getting very sad, Babs is saying, yes, it is. I'm glad they are supporting her. Yes, we have to look out for each other. Yes, we do. So our brother, Anthony Lamar, was shot and killed in Michigan by a cop named Jason Stokely. Okay, for those of you who don't know the background, and again, I make no excuses for our people. Okay, when you wrong, you wrong. All right? I'm not one of those people that's going to go up to the school and fight the teacher when my child was disrespectful and unruly. Okay? I'm not one of those people that's going to be standing outside the jail talking about justice for Quavon when I know daggone well Quavon was one of the meanest gangsters in the freaking neighborhood. But right is right and wrong is wrong. I don't know how much of a criminal this brother was, but from where I was introduced to the story, it was a high-speed chase. They pulled the brother over, cut him off, crashed into his car. One officer got out, didn't draw his gun. Other officer got out, drew his gun, shot the brother 5 times. Now, here's why I have a problem. Because, again, I don't know how much criminality that the brother was involved in, but this is my problem with the story. The police officer, during the chase, looked at his partner and said, we're going to kill this MF, right? So that's premeditation right there. He already made up in his mind that he was going to kill him. Told his partner to cut him off. He gets out. His partner doesn't draw a gun. So right there, that tells me that there was no clear and present danger if both officers didn't draw the gun. This guy, Stokely, drew his gun, shot 5 times. Then went back to his vehicle, started rummaging through his bag. Now, his attorneys are saying, well, he was rummaging through his bag because he was looking for first aid material to help this young man. But never came back to the car with any first aid material. Came back to the car, shielded whatever he had in his hand, and then miraculously found a gun under the young man's seat. Problematic at best. But here's the kicker. Come to find out, when they did an analysis of the gun, the young man's DNA wasn't on the gun. Only the cop's DNA was on the gun. And they trying to say, okay, well, he found the gun and he unloaded it, and that's when his DNA got on the gun. Again, problematic. If you're involved in the shooting, and I gotta ask some people that know about this more directly, but it's my assumption that if you're the officer involved in the shooting, you're taken away from that scene. You're not supposed to be touching evidence at that scene. Your supervisor at that point, or the lead investigator at that point, is supposed to come in and process the scene. Why was he allowed to go and search the car and touch evidence if he's directly involved in the shooting? There's a problem there. All right? So the judge, in his infinite wisdom, says that this cop goes free. So Michigan is in a state of alert right now. They've been protesting. The young people have been up in arms there. From what I understand, the mayor's house has been vandalized. You know, but there's too much going on with this case that didn't make sense, especially for the judge to just throw it out and say that the state didn't meet their burden of proof. When it's clear on tape, the officer says, "We're gonna kill this MFer." You know we're gonna kill this MFer, right? That's premeditation right there. That's enough right there for me if I was sitting on the jury to say, "Yo, he's guilty," as far as I'm concerned, because you made up in your mind. They were talking about, oh well, you know, they had an attorney talking about, well, I was a cop and I was involved in these high-speed chases and they're very stressful and, you know, you say things you don't mean. I can give you that. A lot of times you be in a heated argument, you might say something you don't mean. But usually when it's that way, people say things like, you make me so mad I could kill you. Or get out my face before I break your nose. Okay? But if you sit back and say to your friend, this dude made me so mad, when we get over there, you know we're going to kill him, right? And then at the end of the day, that man ends up dead. Anybody else would be 6 feet under the jail. But that's the two faces of America. Okay? We can't alienate ourselves from law enforcement. We need them to protect us. We need them on our side to an extent. So they get a wide berth in terms of what they do, what they say, and how they behave. The two faces of America. And this is not to dump on the police. You know, this is not to you know, because like I said before, and I say it again, individually, as individual, I believe there are some good people in uniform. I believe there are some good people that put on that badge. But as a whole, that fraternity, the fraternity of national law enforcement, you got a problem and you need to fix your problem. You know, you got a serious problem in your ranks. And you need to clean out the Ku Klux Klan that the FBI said that are in there. Oh yes, it's on. You can look it up. FBI said that just about every law enforcement agency in the country has been infiltrated by Ku Klux Klan and white supremacists. You need to clean that up. You know, you need to restore faith in the public. And most of all, you need to hold these people accountable when they do these things. Can't be two sides to America. America has to be the same America for me as it is for you and anybody else that walks down these streets waving that flag. You know, but you know they're up in arms out there in Michigan, and our prayers are with them. You know, and again, just looking at the two faces of America. You saw what happened in Charlottesville a couple of weeks ago. Armed militias walking through the streets. Cops ain't do nothing. People got beat up. Cops ain't do nothing. Young girl lost her life. Cops ain't do a damn thing. All right? But guess what? These peaceful protesters in Michigan that didn't come with no guns, no torches, you know, they're getting arrested. I think, what last count, I think 3 people were arrested or 30 people were arrested and 11 cops were injured. You know, I'm not saying that they all didn't come nonviolently. From what I understand, there were people throwing rocks and bottles and other things, you know. But again, when you look at the measured response, you know, you got armed militia coming into Charlottesville. They don't get arrested. But every time there's a peaceful protest, people come with no weapons at all. They end up in jail, and the police end up clashing with them. Two faces to America. America the two-face. Okay? Two sides to that coin. All right, again, every time you speak to some of these conservatives, they're talking about the freedom of speech. Don't tread on me, you know. Don't, what you say, Alvin? Yes, it is. Very sad. Yes, it is. And that day is very far off, Alan. you hear these First Amendment people talking about the freedom of speech, and and they teach their kids, don't let nobody take your freedom of speech. Well, we had a 16-year-old young man. Oh, I'm sorry, I got my stories mixed up. That was in St. Louis. That wasn't in Michigan. This story is what happened in Michigan. St. Louis is where the officer shot that young man and got off for it. And in Michigan, there was a young man by the name of Stone Chansey. He's a sixth grader, and this is a very conscientious young man. Decided not to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, And I remember I never stood for the Pledge of Allegiance. I grew up in a very religious household. My mom knew the Bible backwards and forward. She took us to church every Sunday. And, it's always been my belief to pledge allegiance to the flag, to a country. I never believed in doing that. And even as a teacher, I never forced my students to stand. It was their choice. If they wanted to stand, they stood. If they didn't, they didn't. I never encouraged anybody either way. It was just my personal belief. And it's funny that this young man, when they interviewed the young man, he said the same thing, that my allegiance is to God and to my family. And that's basically how I feel. My allegiance, if I pledge allegiance to anybody, it's going to be to the Creator. It's going to be to my queen and our children, and to my extended family, and then to all of humanity. I can't pledge allegiance to a flag, to a country. All that changes at the point of a gun. A flag is raised and lowered at the point of a gun. Human rights and your rights as an American is given to you and can be taken at the point of the gun. Then what do you do? Do you pledge allegiance to Russia or China, whoever takes over the country? No. That's a very serious thing when you pledge allegiance to something. So this young man opted out. He said, no, I'm not going to do it. This young man, Stone Chansey from Michigan. And he said next thing he knew, teacher was pulling him out of the chair violently. She was a teacher's consultant. Again, they won't give us any names of this individual, but she's a teacher's consultant, meaning that she teaches other teachers. And then the young man said that when he went to school the next day, another teacher approached him and started yelling at him about it. They won't identify these teachers. Of course, we know why, But the truth of the matter is the two faces of America. These are the same people that sit there and argue with you about the First Amendment and the constitutional right, the freedom of speech, yet they're harassing and abusing this young man when he takes the privilege and the opportunity to exercise that freedom of speech, to say no. He was very articulate as to why he didn't feel it was necessary for him to pledge allegiance to the flag. But that just goes to show you the two faces of America. We'll sit there and we'll send these same young people thousands of miles away to die in some other land, when at home they're not even considered a man or a woman. They've got to go along and get along. You got to toe the party line. The two faces of America. It's either you believe in freedom of speech or you don't. Either you believe in a person's right to stand or sit during an anthem or a pledge, or you don't. There's no two ifs, ands, or buts about it. But that's the way it is. That's what's going on here in this country. And it's a shame that again, I just noticed that whenever these white supremacists attack, they usually attack our women and our children or our elderly. They always single them out, when they're alone or when they have the upper hand, and they're not letting us know who this so-called teacher's aide is or whatever. And from what I understand, her district has put her, my chair, her district has put her on suspension while they investigate. But we know how those investigations usually pan out. Investigation is just a catchphrase for we're going to sweep it under the rug until you forget about it, and then we'll put them back to work somewhere quietly. But we're going to keep an eye on this story and see how it develops. But, it just, and I got to say, this goes back to how we react to things as a culture and as parents. Because, if the shoe was on the other foot and this was a little white child that got abused like that, that teacher would have been locked up too sweet. But, they've got us into this whole non-violent, let's wait on the system bull crap that we fall into it over and over again. We need to get off that kick, man. I mean, after 250-something years of this, we should know by now that the system isn't going to work for us the way it works for everybody else. There are two faces to America. There are two sides to America. There's a top and a bottom, and we always getting the bottom side or the underbelly of law and justice and politics. And we need to really stop that nonsense. His mother and father should have went immediately. And I advise anybody, if your child's accosted by an officer or a teacher or anybody of authority, and they tell you, oh, well, we have the matter under investigation, no problem. Do that. Please do that. Investigate thoroughly. But in the meantime, I'm going down to the precinct, and I'm having that teacher or whoever locked up for assault. That is your right. Go make a complaint of assault against the teacher. Go make a complaint of assault against whomever accosts your child. Stop taking that nonsense. Stop listening to that BS. Go and make the complaint. They can't stop you from doing that, especially if you're going to pull your child out of the school anyway. Shoot, man, are you kidding me? If that was me, that teacher would have been locked up so fast it would have made her head spin. And quiet as a cat, somebody would have been waiting for her outside the precinct after she made her bail. But you ain't heard that from me. Anyway, people are trip, man. Our people kill me with that, man. Oh, we're gonna wait on the Lord. And I know if I was Jesus, I'd be in heaven, be like, oh no, not that again. Stop waiting on Jesus to do for yourself what he put you on earth to do. Okay, and I'm not trying to dump on nobody's religion or spiritual belief, but the truth of the matter is, if you believe in God, you believe in Christ or whatever, you're here as his hands, his feet, and his legs and his eyes, ladies and gentlemen. Quit all that waiting on Jesus. Because if Jesus was going to do something in 250 years, he'd have done it already. The truth of the matter is you're the catalyst in all this. You got to step out here and get it done. Like the old phrase goes, man. God helps those who help themselves. Stop waiting on Jesus. And I know why we do that, because when it don't happen, we can chalk it off to, oh, that's the Lord's will. No, it ain't the Lord's will. It's your laziness. God has given us everything we need to make it happen. He's given us the intellect. He's given us the limbs. He's given us the power of unity. And if it don't get done, it ain't God's will. It ain't the Lord's fault. It's your fault. Stop waiting on Jesus and take your lazy ass down to the precinct and fill out the form and have that teacher locked up or whoever is accosting your family. Mother, father, all of you, especially you brothers, man. Like I said, the male is the first line of defense for his family in this world. And some of you brothers talking about you waiting on Jesus, you're a sorry excuse for a man. And you let somebody harm your child. And you sitting back waiting on Jesus. Don't get me started, man. But that's what I'm saying. The two sides to America. There's two sides to America. We sit back and we wait on Jesus while the other side will step out and have us locked up, or take justice into their own hands. Two sides to America. America the two-faced. Next story. 8-year-old in Massachusetts. I know you guys heard about that. The brother hanging from a tree. Now, whenever our kids do anything, I don't care how old they are, their name, their address, the community they live in, how many times they've been arrested, what their mother was arrested for, their father, how much money the father making, what he been arrested for. Everything is put out there on the airwaves. Okay? When Trayvon was killed, they had all kinds of pictures of him calling him a thug and all this stuff. But this young man, 8-year-old boy, was lynched in Massachusetts. And investigative officers talking about, oh, well, we don't want to put out the information on the person that did the lynching because he's a minor. And like I said, when it's our kids and they do something wrong, they put everything out there. They put the pictures, they put the everything except the man's underwear size out there for everybody to look at and know who these kids are. But they don't want us to know who this young man is, you know. A bunch of crap, man. You know, unless you see the two sides of America. And rapper Triple X put out a video. This goes to show you the hypocrisy. He puts out a video. And again, as an artist, as a musician and an artist and an entertainer, I understand the power of imagery. That's why I'm very careful about what I produce. Certain things that I put out there, people come to me and ask me to work on different projects. And if the language is too strong or it's going in a direction that I'm not comfortable with, I tell them, like, yo, that's not for me. So I'm just qualifying what I'm about to say with that, just to say that the imagery that Triple X used was strong, but I understood the point that he was trying to make. You know, just like Kathy Griffith when she held up that bloody head of that was supposed to be Triple X and everybody got upset. I understand there's certain boundaries you shouldn't cross. I understand that there's certain jokes, even though it's comedy, shouldn't be told. I understand that. But to each his own, you know. But my point is, everybody got so upset at Triple X and his video of him lynching a little white boy. But nobody had anything to say about the reality of this young little mixed race kid being lynched by a group of teenagers. So where's the double standard? You see the point I'm making here? You see how two-faced this country can be? You can get all upset about an artist expressing himself, regardless if you agree with it or not. But that upsets you more than the reality of a young boy almost losing his life because somebody wanted to taunt him and make him an example for their racist beliefs. You know? Again, two faces of America. America the two-faced. You know, no longer can we sing America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies. No, we got to say, oh, two-faced it for spacious skies. And your bull, your bull crap way of grain. You know? It's a daggone shame that we can call for this sister to be ousted at ESPN and try to jump down Triple X's throat for his video. But when you look at the reality of what's going on, all of these First Amendment and Second Amendment people don't have nothing to say. They don't have nothing to say when it comes to true justice, when it comes to the lives that are being lost and the people that are being killed. You know? It's really a shame that that people are so full of crap. You know, I want to say another word, but you know, I got a lot of church folk be listening to me at times, and people came back to me and asked me to cool out. So I'm really trying to get that in check. But y'all know what I'm trying to say. You know, it's just a bunch of bull that, you know, people aren't being real about what they're talking about. You know, again, we talk about bring us your poor, you're tired, and all these people yearning to be free, but yet we're building a wall to keep the Mexicans out. Or we're making legislations where Muslims can't visit the country. You know? That's Train in the background for those of you. He's in Europe right now, so. yeah, so, I just wanted to talk about that because these stories jumped out at me. And, and there was another one that I put on my wall, and I hope you guys have been circling it. They've been trying to erase it from YouTube. I think D-Man, my man Daryl, had first posted it, and I passed it around about a cop like physically raping a young black teenager in jail. All on camera. All on camera. He goes in her cell. They wrestling for a moment. He socks her. He knocks her unconscious, handcuffs her, pulls down her shorts or whatever. You can see him adjusting himself on top of the girl and like going to town on her, man. And she wakes up and he hits her again. So I've been circling that and asking people to try and just try and help us find out who this is, because there was no identification on the young lady yet or who the officer is yet. So if you see that video, they're trying to, stop it from showing, but keep circulating that video. I mean, this was a blatant, broad daylight rape in a jail cell. And this creep, But again, the two faces of America. How many of our sisters have been killed since Sandra Bland in these jail cells, beaten, raped, and all kinds of stuff, man? But you let something like that happen to a little white girl, and the whole country would be up in arms, And that's why I say, we got to adhere to the new black codes, ladies and gentlemen. Brothers, we really have to take it serious and protect our sisters in this day and age. We have to protect our women. We have to protect our children. Don't let our young children walk out in these streets alone. And when something happened to them, we got to step up and we got to protect them, even if it might cost us our lives. We got to step up and protect our families and protect our loved ones, because we see the system is going to protect them. And not only won't the system protect them, the system won't give them justice, even though it's blatant, even though it's out in the open. Like this officer, killing this young man. And they show him on camera getting a drop gun from his bag, going to his car, planting the gun under the seat. All of them officers that were there should be brought up on charges, because they was all down with him. They should have never let him back near that car. Once you're involved in the shooting, your supervisor's supposed to take your gun, log it in as evidence, and then process the crime scene. And you and the other officers that did the shooting go off away from the crime scene, so they can't tamper with the evidence. But they allowed this man to tamper with the evidence, and eventually he's going free. And now St. Louis is in an uproar. People are going crazy. And I gotta say, I'm very pleased to see that it's not just black people this time. If you look at some of the videos that are coming out of St. Louis, you got people from all walks of life, on all races, And I said it before and I said it again. Racism is not our problem. We did not create it. We did not perpetuate it. And we definitely cannot cure it. That's an issue that has to be dealt with by white people. And that's right. Yes, they should, Alan. They should be up in arms, and they are. And I'm pleased to see that white folk are stepping to these white supremacists. In Charlottesville, it was mostly white people out there. Now I understand that they're down in Richmond, Virginia. I was just in Richmond. Richmond is a predominantly black area. And just about all those brothers and sisters down there got a gun. All right, so all I gotta say is, don't start none, won't be none down in Richmond. Them brothers down there ain't playing. My brother lives in Richmond, him and his wife, and his wife carries. She's a better shot than him, from what I understand. So all I can say is to all you white militia and you white supremacists and all you Donald Trump wannabes, don't start none, won't be none. All right. That's all I got to say about that. As Forrest Gump would say. but listen, I'm gonna back it on down here. I don't know how much time I use. Let me check my time here. I'm about out of time anyway. Sometimes I can go on and on, but that's because I love talking to you guys. But before I go, just want to send a shout out to a couple of people. Again, to the people of Michigan. You know, I'm in St. Louis. Our prayers are with you. Fight on. Don't let this injustice go unchecked. You know, like I said, I understand you guys trashed the mayor's house. Not that I'm advocating such things, but I ain't judging you neither. But, you know, do what you got to do. At this point, do what you got to do. You know, they need to be held accountable and brought to justice for what they did. But do what you got to do. Shout out to St. Louis. Again, 1804, the movie. Our brother Tariq Nasheed. If you don't have Hidden Colors 1, 2, 3, and 4, you need to get it. I keep stressing that. And Samir Bey's documentary, Out of Darkness. Get those things. Sit down with your family. Have family discussions about the material. And don't just stop there. Do some more research. Dig deeper in terms of who we are as a people and as a culture. Of course, we're still boycotting the NFL. Shout out to the NFL page, boycott the NFL page. You can just type that in the search bar if you're not a member of that page. I sent out some notices to some people. If you didn't get it, hit me up. I'll send you a link. Join that page, please. We need as many people as we can. Boycott is going well. I understand that the ratings for the NFL are steadily dropping. They don't want to attribute it to the boycott, but we know the real deal. That's one thing black folk we know how to do. Hurt them where it lives. Hurt them with that money. Unity, folks. You know, so let's keep the boycott going. Shout out to Naja Flife. She did a big show, and she's sort of quote unquote my goddaughter. She's the daughter of Alvin Fife, a saxophone player from Jamaica, Queens. She did a big show in California. And it's funny because the place she did it at is called The Mic Live. And my show is called The Mic is Live. So shout out to Naja. I understand the show went well. We want to give her some props and keep going. She's out there making her moves in the industry. And we're proud of her. She's come a long way. Kanika Jenkins. I know you heard about the story about the young lady that died in Chicago at the Crown Plaza Hotel. We want to send a shout out to her family while they're seeking answers. They still don't have answers yet as to what happened and how she died. You know, our thoughts are with her and her family. And finally, we want to send a shout out to my brother Eric Adams, the borough president of Brooklyn. We want to send a shout. That's right, Babs. Hurt them in the pocket. We want to send a shout out to my brother. He's been doing a series of live videos for Facebook showing his diet. He was suffering from type 2 diabetes, and he cured that. What's up, Malcolm? And basically through his diet, you know, they wanted to give him all these pills and all this stuff. He was like, nah. So he did some research. He got with different holistic doctors. He's always been into holistic medicine, but he really got into it because he started to actually lose his sight from the type 2 diabetes, and but he reversed all that strictly through his diet. And we're going to get into another show. I did one show on health, but we're going to do another one on that. And in terms of the things that we should be doing for ourselves, our outer skin and beauty, as well as the inner, because That's where a lot of that comes from. A lot of the pimples and rashes and all that stuff we're getting is due to what we're putting in our bodies. And we're going to do a whole another show on that as well. Listen, I'm out of here. But before I go, we want to give it up to our unsung hero this week. Is none other than the great, late John Coltrane. I've been listening to John Coltrane since I was a child, coming up in high school. He's a great influence on my art and the direction that I take with my music. John Coltrane is one of the founders of what we call the Cosmos, and we want to always respect our elders and the people the giants upon whose shoulders we stand on as we reach for the stars. So today's unsung hero is the master of the saxophone, John Coltrane. If you don't know who he is, go to YouTube, research his music, and hey, I am out of here. I should be out of time by now. So listen, Babs, Alan, Malcolm, all you guys, Eric, all you guys that came to join me today, I appreciate you. Keep the word going. Again, we want to build the platform so we can get away from Facebook and YouTube and have our own radio station. We're getting there slowly, but it's coming along, and we appreciate you guys. So please, pass the word. Let people know what we're doing. And remember, guys, don't get caught up in the lies that they're telling, because they tell them to you every day, that you fail to prepare for the reality that's about to come. Peace out. I love you. And we'll see you next Saturday.
Oh.